Hand. I'm running for Superintendent of Colbert County, and I want to start off by saying thank you to the Shoals Republican Club for inviting me here today, and it's been very nice to meet each one of you who are here. And there's a few of you I haven't met yet, and I'd love to make your acquaintance before we leave today. I also want to thank Mr. Phil Green, our Colbert County chairperson. He has helped me navigate becoming a first-time politician. I am a political novice, and as you can see, I brought a folder with my notes. I don't trust my memory to say to you the things that I want to say to you, although really all this is about is just speaking from the heart about who we are and what our goals are for education. And but I'm very honored to be here with you today, and I'd like to thank my wife. She was able to join me this morning. She's an educator as well. She's taught 20 years, first grade, and the past 2 years she's been teaching third grade at R.A. Thompson. She was at Colbert Heights Elementary School for 20 years, and so we love education. Our supper table talks are about education, and I taught government economics for 10 years at Dessler High School, and I taught at Decatur High School sometime before that. But we talk about the same, we have the same conversations with just different, you know, her kids are a bit smaller than mine, but education, no matter where you go, we're all experiencing the same, facing the same issues and the same problems. And so there's nothing that I can say to you that I as an individual can bring that is a be-all, end-all answer. But I do know that there are a lot of good people who have given their lives to education, and I'd like to think I'm one of those, and I'd like to bring ideas to the table. I'm honored to be the first Republican superintendent running for Colbert, for this position in Colbert County. But let me share a bit of background with you for those of you who may not know me. I do have some folks that I've known for years in the room, and that's always a comfort. But many of you may not know me. I graduated from Colbert County Schools in 1992, Colbert Heights High School. Went to college 2 years, and was constantly changing my mind about my career path. My dad worked at a local business at the time. He had an opportunity to get me a job, and it was one of those good jobs that many folks from his generation aspired to get. You know, he was from a generation where you could finish high school and get a job at TVA or at Reynolds or at Ford, and those days have changed. And so I took that job in business and industry for 2.5 years, and then, as it sometimes goes, business turned and I was laid off. And so back to college I went. I finished my degree, and I knew in my heart at that point in time that I wanted to be a teacher first and foremost. And I'm going to say to you that even though I'm running for superintendent, I am still a teacher at heart, and that's what I will remain, is a teacher. I know we all fill positions from time to time that are important in regard to decision making, but in my heart I'm still a teacher. I got my first job as an elementary kindergarten aide at New Bethel Elementary School, which is a Colbert County school system. I made just over $12,000 a year. My wife and I, we were married at the time and barely could pay the bills, and you know, we have all those stories that many of you have about that first year or two of life, but they're treasures now, and I'm honored for the rough and tumble that you have to go through. You know, many people call it getting your foot in the door, but I had that experience as well. But I learned a lot in that elementary setting, and it was right there that I knew that I wanted to become an administrator when the time became right. And so just as a young teacher serving as an aide, I worked there 1.5 years. Of course, the funding run out for that, as it always does, proration many times. My next entry into education was as a fill-in, a substitute teacher. I did a maternity leave. It was just happened to be one day that the assistant principal and I were throwing away our trash at the same time, and she said, "I've heard of a job at Decatur High School. Why don't you check it out?" And I did. I went to Decatur High School and thought I will never work in a school like this 6A school. I'm just a little country boy from Colbert County, and within a day or two they had offered me the job. So I taught there at Decatur High School and loved the experience. So teaching in an element like that is different, but you gain from that broad range of seeing how things operate on that level. And here again, we all experience the same things in education. We deal with the same problems. We have the same issues. But I value that time, and I'm appreciative. At the time, certainly did not like driving 100 miles a day back and forth to have a job in education, but I had set my heart on being a teacher, and so if that's what it took, then I was willing to do that. My dream job came open, which was teaching in the social sciences field. That's my secondary education. My bachelor's is in social science, and so I went to National High School for 10 years. I taught government economics, some U.S. history, and we just started an AP government politics course when the opportunity to be the principal at our local elementary school came open. And I knew from the moment that I heard that position came open that that's what I wanted to pursue. And I thought back on those days working at elementary school, how much that meant to me, how much of an impact you can have on children when they're still this big. I was dealing with kids for 10 years that were this big and oftentimes this big. And as I said, my wife and I shared many stories about what we do. And you know, first and foremost, we have to love kids. If you are an educator, if you're a parent, if you're a community member, kids are our future. And I'll say this, you know, now when I go to the doctor, I've been admitted to the hospital a time or two since then with a few issues, and one of my former students walked in to take care of me. Now that's a real moment. And so, you know, kids are our future. And so I want to say to you, that's, if we do not start with love for our kids, love for their career possibilities, and I'm going to say, you know, if we name the name of the Lord, we have love in our heart that's a little different kind of love towards our neighbor. And I certainly don't, would never want to impose my religious beliefs on anyone, but I do thank God that He is the reason that we live and move and have our being. And what we're able to do for kids, we just get one small opportunity oftentimes, just 187 days sometimes that we get to spend with them, and we spend more time with them than oftentimes that the parents spend with them. So what an impact, and what an opportunity we have. I want to share just a few things about what I believe, and of course I know the paper said you could ask questions, and I was sort of hoping that there wouldn't be many questions, but I'll try to answer them if you have them. But this is my first official political speech, so you just bear with me. I do want to say this. Many of you who are teachers or you're a parent, you've seen how programs change over time. Many of you still struggle with helping your child do math, this new math, college and career ready standards and things of that nature. Programs come and go, but the one thing that stays constant is people. And that's my focus. If we can focus on people, first of all, making sure that we have the right people in place standing in front of our kids each day, that those people are equipped and supported and held to a high level of accountability. If we equip and support our administrators to be the CEOs of their school buildings. I'm not a micromanager. I do have high expectations, and I like to express those, but then let people do their job and give them the support they need. And you can put pressure as long as you provide support. And so, you know, when you focus on people, and here again, that focus trickles down to the real people who matter the most, and those are our kids. When we put ourselves out there in a meaningful way, and we're willing to make hard decisions, and I'm going to say to you that I may have 4 years in this job, and that may be the end of it. But I'm going into it with that fully in mind. I hope to stay there longer, you know, and I would love to serve in this role until I feel like I've served all that I have been given time to serve. But my last statement about what I believe is this. Everyone in the education world falls into one of two categories. And this is just my philosophy. This is the way I view what we are doing as educators. We are either teaching or we're supporting teaching. We are either teaching or supporting teaching. If we're not in the classroom each and every day, giving what we have to give to these children or those other faculty and staff members, aides and support staff, if we're not there, if we're the folks who are like me running for this position and other central office positions and everyone from maintenance to transportation to C&P. We are there to support teaching. And if we make decisions to spend money, or to hire, or to fire, or to support a program, or to not support a program for any other reason other than supporting teaching, then we become selfish in our ways. And so that's my philosophy. I appreciate the opportunity to share those words with you. I'd be glad to try to answer any question you may have. If I don't have an answer, I can certainly get back to you. But thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you today. And,
any questions for Chris? Any questions? Chris?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any real-world experience outside of education that you think makes you a better superintendent candidate?
Yes. I worked in business and industry for a few years. Outside of that, I'm going to share with you something that I value as what I consider to be real-world experience. Not only did I work, in business and industry for a few years, and in college as well, working part-time. I had one of those uncles who everyone would love to have, and from the time that I was a young boy all the way up through college and on and off, he took me under his wing. He taught me so much about how to be a man, but also about how to use my hands to work, and I came up working for his construction company. As a matter of fact, when I was at Decatur High School, I actually took and passed the practice for carpentry, and I taught their building construction science program in career tech as well as world history. I love to build. I love to do things. I love to work. Currently, I serve as facilities director for Tuscaloosa City Schools. As a principal, I was approached by the superintendent, and he said, we need somebody that has some knowledge and understanding in construction and a background in construction. And they needed someone to be the capital planner for our system. I serve in that role now, and we've completed about $4 million of capital projects and still have a few more slated. But that experience with just understanding what it's like, I'll share one story, and then I promise this is one of my favorite stories. When I lost that elementary aide position job, my heart was broken because I thought I finally got my job. I'm finally in education, even though it was just in a small way. I was back working for my uncle and his construction crew when my wife called me and she said, there's maternity leave at the high school. I think you should check into it. And I took off my nail belt that day, put it in the back of my truck, went home, put my shirt and tie on, and went there, applied, got the job, and 15 years later, I became the principal at the school of the ladies whose house we were building that day. And we were talking one day, and I said, do you know, we were putting in floor joists in your house when the last time I remember us really speaking to one another. And it was just a funny thing, but our kids need to know that a college education is a valuable thing. But you know, we have a lot of kids who also have great potential for other facets, other areas. Our career tech programs, I think they need to be strengthened. I think we need to reach out to other resources locally. You know, we've worked with iron workers locally here at Decatur, nationally, getting some things done, and he's expressed that to me, Eddie Mitchell. He said, you know, I'd love for us to talk more about kids just knowing about the fact that there's an apprentice program that you can actually go into if this is what you feel like you'd like to do with your life. Of course, we have a lot of business and industry that's coming our way. So.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.